My stepfather asked me for $35,000 for my brother's wedding. When I refused, they crashed my bridal shower but turned pale as security showed up. My stepfather demanded $35,000 for my brother's wedding, but what happened on my big day, when my own family showed up to sabotage it, was something I never could have imagined. It started months before, with a shocking demand that made my blood run cold. My wedding preparations took 22 grueling months. I saved every spare penny from brutal extra shifts as a radiologic technician, sacrificing weekends and sleep. My fiancé, Ryan, and I had meticulously planned, pouring our hearts into every detail. We'd saved exactly $35,000. Enough to book our dream vineyard venue, hire an amazing photographer, and create the perfect celebration. Contrast that with my brother Lucas. When I was 17, taking the bus everywhere, he got a brand new car. His parents, my mother and stepfather, paid for his entire college education, while I had to take out loans. And then, in his junior year, Lucas dropped out to become a DJ. Mr. Harrison, my stepfather, actually praised him, calling him creative. When I graduated from the University of Vermont, all he said was, "Anybody can memorize textbooks." Lucas lived at home rent-free until he was 30, while I, at just 18, was paying my parents $600 a month to learn responsibility. So, when Lucas and Sophie got engaged last month after only dating for 8 months, I had a sinking feeling. He proposed with a ring he'd bought on payments. Payments he'd already started skipping, mind you. No savings, no plan. I just knew deep down that someone else would step in to bail him out as always. The next day, Mr. Harrison called. He wanted me to aid Lucas with his wedding costs. I literally laughed, thinking he had to be joking. He wasn't. Not even close. He thought I was greedy for having a lavish wedding while Lucas had nothing. He actually said, "You should help your brother because you've always managed money so well." Oh, the irony. I reminded him that I was better at money management because I'd been working since I was 14, while Lucas received an allowance until he was 25. He just scoffed, called me theatrical, and said, "Families support each other." I said no, and I hung up. But it didn't end there. For 3 agonizing weeks, Mr. Harrison called daily, each idea more insulting than the last. "Cancel the photographer and give the money to Lucas," he'd demand. "Return your wedding dress for a bargain basement one. Cut your guest list in half. Serve pizza instead of a sit-down dinner." Each suggestion chipped away at my sanity and my self-worth. My mom, bless her heart, ran interference, tearfully telling me I was tearing the family apart over money. She insisted Lucas deserved a great wedding too, and that I should examine how everyone felt. Then Lucas called, crying. Real actual snot-nosed crying. He said Sophie was upset they couldn't afford a country club, because all her friends were having lavish weddings. He whined about feeling like a failure, while I had a good profession, a house and finances. He just wanted one memorable day, as if my wedding wasn't meant to be special for me. The coals only worsened. Mr. Harrison played the ultimate card. "Nana would be so disappointed in you. Lucas is suffering because you never help him. Successful siblings help each other. They don't abandon them." He actually accused me of abandoning Lucas because I wouldn't pay for his wedding. Then came my bridal shower last week, thrown by my wonderful Aunt Hannah at her home. Everything was perfect, beautiful. About halfway through, as I was opening gifts, the front door burst open. Mr. Harrison walked in, Lucas and Sophie right behind him. Uninvited. He marched right into the center of the room and declared for everyone to hear that I was selfish for spending $35,000 on myself instead of helping my brother. The room went silent, a collective gasp. But Nana, bless her indomitable spirit, spoke up. My tiny, fierce Nana, who had watched me work my way up since I was a teenager, while Lucas got ribbons just for showing up. She revealed, to everyone's shock, that she had secretly bought my textbooks because my parents refused. She said that everyone in that room knew the real disappointment wasn't me. Mr. Harrison went pale, then read, and quickly left, leaving Lucas and Sophie stranded. Sophie, however, wasn't ready to give up and tried to call me selfish, but my family quickly ushered her and Lucas out the door. It was a victory, but the calm wouldn't last. By the way, if you're sitting there wide-eyed like I was, wondering how much more shocking this could get, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Last week, my actual wedding day arrived. I honestly thought I was finally stress-free. Ryan and I stood at the vineyard entrance, waiting for our cue when I saw her, Sophie, twirling and posing like a model, in a full-on white wedding gown. My parents and Lucas stood behind her, acting completely normal, as if this were just another Tuesday. Her white dress caught the sunlight, a blinding, brazen statement. I just stood there, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. My family brought my brother's girlfriend, in a bridal gown, to my wedding. Ryan's hand tightened around mine, so hard it hurt. He bent down, his voice steady but with a new, cold steel edge. "We're okay. We're going to be okay." Michael, our incredible wedding organizer, appeared at my elbow, his face pale and his grin gone. "Do you want me to call security?" he asked. I couldn't speak, my mind still replaying Sophie's sickening twirl. I just nodded barely. Michael quickly radioed for help while Ryan's hand, an anchor in the storm, kept me from falling apart. 2 minutes later, 2 men in black suits were there. I finally managed to croak out, "These people weren't invited. And one of them is wearing a bridal gown to my wedding." Ryan, his head held high, turned to Mr. Harrison. His voice the coldest I'd ever heard it. "You need to leave. Immediately. Or you will be arrested." My heart swelled, seeing his fierce protection, a protection my own parents never offered. Sophie, of course, burst into theatrical sobs. "I just wanted one perfect day. Why are you so selfish? We could get married here." Many of my invited guests stared, bewildered, some already recording the spectacle on their phones. I saw my co-worker Chloe, shaking her head at Sophie's antics, giving me an encouraging nod. Then Nana, moving faster than I'd seen her in years, cane clicking on the stone, walked straight up to Sophie. She slowly examined the white dress, then proclaimed in a voice that carried, "Wearing a wedding gown to someone else's wedding is the trashiest thing I've seen in 90 years. And I've seen a lot, believe me." My mom rushed over, panicked. "Lucas is sobbing in the parking lot. Can't you just let them use the cocktail hour space for a quick ceremony? Just a tiny corner of your wedding." I just stared at her, a bitter laugh bubbling up at her. Sheer audacity, her absolute hubris. Sarah, my maid of honor, stood next to Ryan, already on her phone. She looked my parents dead in the eye and said, "If you are not gone in 90 seconds, I will call the police and file trespassing and harassment charges." She stared them down, dialing. My photographer, who had seen it all in 15 years of shooting weddings, started snapping away, capturing Sophie in her gown, my parents' expressions, the whole outrageous scene. My cousin David was also filming, warning Mr. Harrison loudly, "The whole family's going to see this on social media." Security then forcibly, but calmly, separated my family from me. Sophie screamed about her rights and discrimination, none of it making an ounce of sense, as security guided her backward. Mr. Harrison kept pushing past the guards, but they held firm. Mom was openly weeping as Michael walked them toward the exit. Lucas, red-faced and bloated, emerged from his hiding spot in the parking lot, mumbling, "I get everything and he gets nothing." He reached for me over a security guard, shouting, "I'm tearing the family apart." Ryan, his voice like cold steel, cut through the commotion. "If they leave now, you're dead. You hear me? Dead." He gestured menacingly at Mr. Harrison. Sophie, still shrieking, stumbled in her heels, her white dress dragging on the gravel as security led her away. Lucas followed, glancing back at me with an unreadable expression. Anger? Embarrassment? I felt like I was watching someone else's wedding day tragedy, not my own. They vanished around the building's corner. I suddenly felt sad, a deep ache. I shook my hands, realizing I'd been holding my breath for an eternity. Ryan hugged me from behind, his chin resting softly on my shoulder. "Do you want to postpone, honey? Take a moment to process." My veil shifted as I shook my head. "No," I whispered, my voice raw. "I won't let them spoil my day anymore. We saved for 22 months, planned every detail, invited everyone we love. I'm marrying you today, exactly as we planned." He squeezed me tighter, kissing my head. Guests, their faces a mix of concern and fury, checked on me. Chloe hugged me first, saying she knew my family was broken, but not this badly. I just nodded into her shoulder, my throat too tight to speak. Michael joined us. He told Ryan and me he was giving us 40 minutes to recuperate while he personally ensured my family was off vineyard property and not plotting round 2 in the parking lot. He seemed furious for us. Sarah grabbed my hand and led me to the main building. "Come on, I'll fix your makeup," she said. We entered through a side entrance, guests parting as we passed, many gripping my arm or murmuring encouragement. Sarah fixed my face, mercifully not making small talk or telling me everything would be all right. I ignored my phone buzzing in my clutch. I couldn't handle the texts right then. Hannah, discreetly, knocked and entered. She knelt beside my chair, held my hands, and told me something that tightened my chest in a different way. She looked like Nana when she was angry. Her face was a mix of fury and anxiety. "I planned for their antics," she said. "Your dad. I knew he might try to hijack your wedding. Due to my parents' behavior, she and Jack had hired private security to watch the parking lot and film everything in case we needed restraining orders." Hannah squeezed my hand again. "They filmed Sophie in her wedding dress, Mr. Harrison's threats, the full encounter. We have all the proof we need for legal protection." Sarah, adjusting my makeup, looked at Hannah with profound respect. "That's the sort of backup everyone needs," she murmured. Another knock. The minister poked his head in, looking worried. He politely asked if I was ready. I glanced in the mirror. My veil was slightly askew, my eyes red, but I saw Ryan waiting for me. I wouldn't let my family steal this moment, not after everything they'd taken over the years. "I'm ready," I told the minister, my voice firm. He smiled and nodded, saying he'd tell everyone we were moving forward, then quietly closed the door. Sarah finished my makeup, adjusted my veil, and admired her work. "Beautiful," she said. "And powerful. Like a woman who knows her worth." I stood up, straightened my dress, and took a long, shaky breath. My phone buzzed again, repeatedly, loud in the silent room. Pulled it out. The screen lit up with texts from distant relatives. Mr. Harrison was clearly already calling people, manipulating the story. Letters from my mother's sisters, family, friends. All wondering what happened, instructing me to correct it, or demanding an explanation. I stared at the onslaught, overwhelmed. "I'll deal with these after you're married and on your way to your reception," Sarah said, seeing my distress. "My family has left the property," Michael told us in the corridor, his tone grim but relieved. He'd seen them drive away and told the gate staff to never let them back in. Back in the ceremony room, Michael announced a small delay. Instead of being unhappy, people started complimenting me on how I handled it. "Delaying for 40 minutes to calm everyone, prevent them from bursting in again, that sounds like a good idea," he proposed. Starting just to have them interrupt again was a nightmare I couldn't abide. My hospital co-worker, Chloe, told me she'd been in a similar scenario, and seeing me stand strong gave her hope. One of Ryan's college pals said my family did something wrong, but anyone could tell I did nothing. David, my cousin, texted me a message from another cousin. She always knew Mr. Harrison played favorites and is delighted someone finally exposed him. Nana, with Hannah's help, slowly walked through the guests to the front row, where my mom was meant to sit, and lowered herself onto the chair. The support was overwhelming, like I was surrounded by individuals who saw and respected me. "I've never been prouder of you," Nana shouted. "You showed more strength today than most people do in a lifetime." Several guests cheered, and I wept again, but these were beautiful tears, tears of relief and love. Nana called me closer. As I leaned down, she held my face in her wrinkled hands. Your grandfather would be so proud of you, my dear. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak without sobbing. She patted my face. Now go marry that boy. You've kept him waiting. Jack, my uncle, joined me, his eyes red from crying. I held his arm as he walked me down the aisle. I'm so honored, he whispered. You deserve this. I giggled through my tears and kissed his forehead before we started. The processional music began. I needed to hear that my parents' conduct wasn't normal, that I was right for refusing to tolerate it. As we walked, I forgot everything else. Ryan was weeping when I reached him, holding my hand so tightly, as if he was terrified to let go. You're the strongest person I know, he choked out. Witnessing you stand up to your family today. It just made me realize who I'm marrying. I've never been more sure. The pastor cleared his throat. We've conquered big challenges today, he told everyone. Proving our marriage can endure anything. True love includes defending each other, standing up to haters, including family. His words were a blur, my gaze fixed on Ryan. I resolved to build a life with him that supported us, unlike my childhood. Despite wanting to cry, I kept my voice firm. These words, after all that transpired, meant everything. The kiss was longer than expected. People clapped from afar. For a moment I completely forgot about my parents, Lucas, Sophie. Just Ryan and me. And we did this, despite everyone's attempts to stop us. When we parted, the visitors were cheering, whistling, and sobbing. Even Jack wasn't trying to hide it. As we walked back down the aisle, husband and wife, I held Ryan's hand so fiercely my fingers hurt. The reception started an hour later. I barely sat down before people started approaching our table. A woman from Ryan's office told me her sister had tried to spoil her wedding too, and seeing me stand solid gave her shivers. It was strange, yet reassuring, to realize how many people had dysfunctional families. A nursing school classmate told me she was finally cutting off her toxic mother after seeing my experience. A couple I didn't even know said they'd eloped because of family issues and wished they'd done it openly. Everyone understood what my parents had done. During cocktail hour, David, my cousin, found me, phone in hand. He showed me the video he'd recorded of the entire entrance disaster. Sophie posing in her wedding gown, Mr. Harrison's threats, Sophie's tantrum. Made my stomach turn. Send it to me anyway, I told him. He had a backup copy. Half the family is messaging me, he noted. Mr. Harrison is circulating a very edited version of events. Restarting my phone to check texts was a decision I immediately regretted. 47 texts and 12 voicemails. A mix. My cousin from Mr. Harrison's side insisted I apologize for humiliating everyone. Uncle Greg didn't understand why Lucas wanted to attend my wedding. Sarah put 3 letters from my mom's sister in his jacket pocket saying, "We'll deal with these tomorrow." Chloe, my co-worker from the hospital, pulled me aside near the bar. She offered to cover my calls in the coming weeks. She'd been through something similar with her parents and understood how hard it was. I don't think she realized how much her genuine help meant. They'll get worse before they get better, she warned. Prepare for an extinction burst when your parents realize you're serious. The photographer pulled me away from the dessert table before dinner, showing me his camera screen. He'd kept some of the drama, but most of his shots focused on Ryan stepping in front of me when Mr. Harrison yelled. The finished album, he promised, will tell the story of 2 people who won their wedding day. I hugged him. These images would mean more than any perfectly posed shot. At dinner, Hannah stood to toast. Chosen family, she said, her voice clear, is as vital as biological family, if not more so, because you pick your true loves and supporters. I'm honored to be here tonight, because this girl has always been more like a daughter to me than a niece. She recalled watching me work as a teenager while my parents excused Lucas. During our first dance, to the song Ryan and I picked months ago, he held me close. We're starting our marriage correctly, he murmured, by putting each other first. I knew he was right. Today proved we could manage anything, even my family's worst behavior, and preserve our wedding day and each other when it counted. My phone buzzed in Ryan's pocket during the last dance set. I felt a pang of anxiety even now. He pulled it out, his eyes widening. He showed me a long text from Lucas. It called me evil and selfish. Sophie was devastated. Their relationship was falling apart because of me. I had ruined his life by not helping with the wedding and then humiliating them today. He blamed me for Sophie reconsidering their engagement. Read it all, I told Ryan, then delete it. Don't react. When Ryan asked if I was okay, I said, I'm okay. It felt fantastic to reject responsibility for my brother's difficulties for the first time. I switched off my phone and put it back in Ryan's jacket pocket. As the caterer set up the cake table, Nana joined me, grabbing my arm and pulling me away from the crowd to a quieter spot near our wedding arbor. Her 90-year-old grip was surprisingly strong. The home, she began, her serious expression fixed on me, should go to the grandchild who deserves it. The one who worked for all they have and appreciates it. I stared at her, stunned. That's too much, Nana. Lucas will lose his mind. She patted my cheek. Lucas getting upset over consequences is precisely why he needs to learn he can't coast through life expecting handouts. She said the house had been in our family for 60 years, and she wanted it to go to someone who would appreciate and care for it. She hugged me. Your grandpa would be proud of you, despite your parents' mistakes. The party continued. I finally truly enjoyed my wedding reception. Ryan and I danced with our friends. Nana told embarrassing childhood anecdotes at her table. The 3-tiered cake, adorned with beautiful flowers, arrived. My true family, those who loved and supported me, were here to celebrate. Hannah and Jack danced, looking pleased and calm after the turmoil. The young cousins chased each other on the dance floor. Sarah spoke about knowing me since college, watching me work harder than anyone else. The photographer kept shooting. I knew these images would capture the genuine celebration, the joy we felt. Nana kissed both our cheeks. Be happy, children, she advised. Around midnight, David found me, handing me additional footage from the ceremony and reception. These videos showed my true, beautiful delight. That's all I wanted for my wedding. Hannah held me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'm always here, she whispered. We arrived at our hotel suite. A beautiful room with city lights, a huge bed. After changing out of our wedding attire, I finally broke down. I cried onto Ryan's chest, not for my wedding being ruined, but for the loss of the parents and sibling I should have had. Ryan cradled me, not trying to fix or reassure, just holding me. He gently touched my hair. I'm so sorry your family hurt you, he murmured. He let me weep for the family I should have had, not the one I got. I cried over my father choosing my brother over me, my mother letting it happen, and Lucas bringing his girlfriend in a wedding dress to destroy a 22-month plan. After crying until I was utterly spent, I fell asleep in his arms. When I woke, Ryan was on his phone, his eyes wide. He showed me. David had posted the video online. People were saying they finally understood what Nana meant at the bridal shower about Mr. Harrison's parenting failures. Someone who worked with my stepfather wrote, "This explains so much about the conversations we have." Another family friend said they always wondered why I never talked about my parents. My aunt's friends said they'd seen the bridal shower incident, and this video showed a clear pattern. Sophie in her wedding dress, Mr. Harrison shouting, Mom guilt tripping me, and Ryan protecting me. It was all on tape. It showed me staying firm, refusing to let them spoil my day. The responses were mostly positive, critical of my parents, with numerous people tagging my father and asking how he could do this to his daughter. Do you want to go on our honeymoon to Hawaii? Ryan asked. Or stay and deal with the aftermath? I smiled faintly. Hawaii. We would celebrate our marriage, free from my family's problems. As we packed our luggage for the airport that afternoon, I switched off my phone. I wrote all I wanted to say to my parents in a notebook. The letter was pages long, and I'd never mail it, but writing it helped. I detailed how they gave Lucas everything while making me pay rent as a teenager, paid for his college but not mine, excused his failures while dismissing my successes, demanded I fund his wedding after saving for mine, and then sabotaged my own. Ryan read over my shoulder, squeezing my hand when I reached the part about the wedding day. Writing it all down helped me understand how deep the partiality went, how long I'd tried to earn an affection that never came. The warm air of Hawaii felt like freedom. Our beachfront hotel offered a balcony facing the ocean. I focused on happiness, on my marriage to Ryan. We swam in the beautiful ocean, ate fresh fish at restaurants with our toes in the sand. Yet sadness would strike suddenly. Ryan would make me laugh, then I'd weep, wishing my parents could be proud of me. I longed for what I never had when I watched families playing on the beach. Ryan checked his phone daily, ensuring nothing urgent was happening. As relatives' messages built up, I read them slowly. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years confirmed Mr. Harrison always liked Lucas more. My uncle claimed Mr. Harrison became defensive and stopped talking to him for months when he tried to discuss it years ago. My mom's sister wrote a long email, regretting not supporting me more, admiring how I handled things, and understanding why I shut my parents out. On day 3, Hannah texted with an unwelcome report. Mr. Harrison had arrived at her residence that morning, demanding she reason with me. When he started ranting, Jack threatened to sue for harassment and seek a restraining order. Reading these letters reassured me I wasn't insane or theatrical. Hannah said Mr. Harrison left yelling about treachery as he drove away. She apologized for interrupting my honeymoon but wanted to warn me. Ryan saw the note. "We'll review restraining orders when we get home if he doesn't settle down." The next day, Sophie's mother sent a long apology. She claimed she had no knowledge and was humiliated by her daughter's actions. She was forcing Sophie to return the dress and apologize, saying Sophie told her she was coming as Lucas's date, not for a sabotage plan. She said she'd raised her better, and accepted if I never spoke to her again. At least someone was taking responsibility. I commended her for her apology and honesty. Not sure if Sophie would apologize or if it even mattered, but her mother had tried to make things right. On day 5, I woke up to 3 missed calls from Lucas and a massive text. My stomach dropped. 3 missed calls were never good. He and Sophie had split up last night. She'd told him she only stayed with him because I would pay for their wedding. When it became evident that wouldn't happen, she declared he was useless and she wanted a provider. Lucas was so sorry for everything. He understood why I declined. He claimed Sophie revealed her true nature, and he felt stupid for not recognizing it sooner. My heart went out to him. Ryan looked over the message, waiting for my reaction. "Perhaps later," I said. "I want to enjoy our last day in Hawaii without thinking about my family." We spent the morning on the beach, the afternoon at a local market eating shaved ice, buying ridiculous trinkets, and snapping photos with our toes in the sand. Perfect, typical, and just what I needed. That evening, as we watched the sunset on our balcony, Ryan brought up the matter of my family again. I knew he was correct, but I didn't want to think about it. We talked for 2 hours, discussing future contact, deal breakers, what we were ready to accept. Ryan swore he wouldn't let my parents treat me like crap anymore, and I didn't want it either. He grabbed my hand. "Safeguarding our marriage and our future children from poisonous individuals is the most loving thing we can do." We agreed. We would cut off Mr. Harrison and my mom unless they apologized and changed their behavior. I felt different when we traveled home 3 days later. Sorting through the mail, I stared at a $10,000 check. I assumed it was a mistake. It was huge. It was from Nana. For my wedding gift, she'd written. She had saved it for Mr. Harrison and Mom's burial, but she wanted me to start my life with Ryan immediately. She wrote of her pride in me. Ryan, reading over my shoulder, his voice cracking, said, "Your grandmother. She's the finest person I've ever known." We called her immediately. She told us to use it for a down payment on a bigger house, a trip, or whatever we wanted. "As long as you're happy." When my coworkers asked about my honeymoon, I showed them beach and sunset photos. I didn't discuss the family issues with outsiders. Not yet. Mid-morning, my boss called me into her office. "You look," she began, concern in her eyes. She said similar familial difficulties had nearly ruined her years ago. She recommended a family trauma therapist, saying the hospital insurance covered it. I took the card, thanked her, and felt a rush of relief that someone understood. 3 weeks after the wedding, I booked an appointment. I almost cancelled 3 times, thinking I was overreacting, that I should just move on. But the therapist listened, made notes, and didn't seem startled by my comments. She concluded that my wedding was the healthiest thing I could have done. Having boundaries with toxic relatives, not being accountable for my parents' or brother's actions, made me feel less insane. Maybe I wasn't a bad daughter for not funding Lucas. Maybe I just learned to protect myself. I started attending weekly. It helped more than expected. 4 weeks after the wedding, on a Wednesday afternoon, I didn't answer my mom's call. Ryan and I had promised not to talk until they apologized. I listened to her message when Ryan was home. She yelled that I had disgraced the family and wrecked Lucas's life. Everyone was talking about me. She couldn't show her face. She demanded I apologize to everyone and pay for Lucas's therapy, since he was so depressed he can't get up. "If you don't make this right," she screamed, "you'll regret it for the rest of your life." The voicemail stopped, leaving me motionless. When Ryan asked if I would call her back, I shook my head. Instead, I texted her. "I'm prepared to re-establish our connection if you and Mr. Harrison go to family therapy and admit you've treated me differently than Lucas your whole lives." Then I blocked her number. I was done being tricked. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan and I settled into married life, which was wonderful. Nana invited us to supper every Sunday, and it became my new normal. She always said, "Your grandfather would have been proud of you for sticking up for yourself, for not allowing anyone to bully you." We'd cook supper, watch movies, and discuss what kind of house we wanted to purchase with Nana's gift. We were developing our own traditions, our own definition of family. Nana always believed a person's character was measured by how they treated others when they had nothing to gain. She grabbed my hand across the table. "You were perfect, despite your parents' attempts to break you." 4 months after the wedding, I almost tossed away a letter with Lucas's handwriting on the envelope, but Ryan told me to read it. I gently opened it, half expecting it to explode, and found 3 pages of honest writing. Lucas said breaking up with Sophie was the wake-up call he needed to understand how entitled he had been his whole life. He was working, going to school, trying to become someone he could be proud of. He hoped we might reconnect eventually but didn't expect me to forgive him straight away. The letter seemed honest, unlike the deceptive weeping call. I put it on the kitchen counter. "I need time to ponder," I told Ryan. "You don't owe Lucas anything just because he apologized," he said. But I wondered, had losing Sophie finally allowed Lucas to see things clearly for the first time? I wasn't ready to react, but I kept the letter. 2 weeks later, I texted Lucas to meet at a downtown coffee shop on Saturday morning. Within minutes, he replied, "Yes. When are you free?" I picked 10 a.m. I could leave any time, and it felt safe and public. Saturday arrived. I drove there feeling terrible, anticipating him to cancel, show up late, or bring new drama. But when I arrived at 10 o'clock, he was already seated at a corner table with 2 coffees. He rose when he saw me, looking scared, truly scared, for the first time in his life. After sitting down, I picked up the coffee he'd bought me and started talking. I told him about working at the grocery store at 14, while being driven to soccer practice, paying rent at 18 while he lived for free, taking out loans while his education was paid for. How Mr. Harrison had labeled me theatrical or selfish, just for wanting the same treatment Lucas got, without even asking for it. He never interrupted. He finally acknowledged that Mom and Dad gave him everything his whole life, that he never had to work or face repercussions. He admitted he was entitled, took advantage, and expected others to handle his issues. Then he told me he broke his lease on the apartment he couldn't afford. He got a job doing customer service at a call center. Not glamorous, but it paid well. He'd enrolled in community college part-time to finish his degree. He wanted to re-earn my trust, which he knew would take more than words. I sat there, analyzing what he said. It sounded so different from the Lucas I'd always known. I thanked him for the apology. But restoring our connection, I explained, will take time and continuous changed behavior. I need to see you follow through for months before I can truly trust you again. He nodded. I understand. I just want a chance to prove I've changed. We chatted about his new flat and my honeymoon for 20 minutes. It was unusual but not bad. When we left, he embraced me. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I drove home, wondering if this was genuine or a ruse. 3 days later, I got a Facebook message notification from Mr. Harrison while at lunch at work. I opened it, feeling my blood pressure rise. He'd written 5 pages, accusing me of turning Lucas against him, destroying the family, and claiming everyone thought I was harsh. He insisted I was rewriting history to make myself look good and him bad. Lucas wasn't returning his calls, and he blamed me for lying to Lucas about the past. He ended by demanding I quit influencing my brother and get him to talk to his parents. After reading it twice, I blocked him. He was gone from my contacts, my social media, my life. With one click. Are you okay? Ryan asked that night. I'm tired, I said. Tired of being blamed for Mr. Harrison's actions. Blocking him is like closing a door I should have closed years ago. When November arrived, Hannah phoned, inviting us to Thanksgiving at her place. She made it plain. Mr. Harrison and Mom weren't invited if they couldn't be courteous and respectful. Thanksgiving, she said, was about family that treated each other well. She'd invited Lucas separately, and he accepted. Ryan and I brought a pumpkin pie and low hopes to Hannah's. Lucas arrived 30 minutes later. We met awkwardly but not badly. He'd cooked homemade mashed potatoes instead of buying them. At supper, he talked about his school and career, without asking for anything or guilt, tripping me about Mom and Dad. Community college is tougher than I imagined, he confessed. I actually have to study. When Jack asked how it was going, we discussed how I could live without them, and how chosen family was as essential as biological family. Ryan returned from work in December as a senior project manager. That night, we sat at our kitchen table with a notepad, seriously considering purchasing a house. We looked at communities we liked, calculated what we could afford with Nana's gift, our savings, and Ryan's new job. It was liberating to plan our future without worrying about bailing out Lucas, lending money to my parents, or sacrificing our aspirations for someone else's emergency. Lucas texted me often with updates on his progress, including a photo of his first college test grade, AB+. Short texts that didn't demand a response, yet I found myself answering more often than planned, inquiring about his grades or congratulating him on his new job. He ultimately secured an entry-level assistant's position at a computer business, proud to be working hard and arriving on time. 6 months after the wedding, as I cleared out my inbox, an email from Mom arrived. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. I opened it to discover 3 short phrases. I miss you. This was her first admission that our estrangement upset her. I stared at those 3 phrases for a while, trying to decide how I felt. 2 days later, I replied. I told her I missed her too, but I needed a sincere apology. That missing someone wasn't enough if they wouldn't accept how they hurt me. I told her I was open to rebuilding if she was ready to work. I wasn't taking crumbs anymore. I transmitted and waited. She never answered. Weeks later, before sitting down with Hannah and Jack, I glanced at Mr. Harrison and Mom in a corner for a moment. She can do what she wants with the chance you gave her, Ryan said. I saved her email and my response in a folder, a reminder that I had tried. The following week, I saw Nana every day after work. Sometimes with Mr. Harrison, but we never spoke. Nana was stable but weaker. Doctors thought her heart was deteriorating. While in the hospital, I realized I was okay with Mr. Harrison's quiet instead of feeling regret or sadness. I felt indifferent, like he was a stranger I occasionally encountered. 4 months later, Ryan arrived home with documents. "We got the mortgage," he exclaimed. "For the house we wanted, with great schools and a big backyard." 2 weeks later, after closing, we spent our first weekend painting the guest room a light hue, hanging Nana's photos, and setting up Aunt Hannah's furniture. The house felt like a fresh start after everything. On moving day, Lucas surprised me, arriving at 7 a.m. ready to work. He moved boxes and furniture without complaint, genuinely glad to help. Jack and David were there too, and we got everything done. That night, we ordered pizza and sat on our new living room floor, too weary to arrange the table. Lucas, between bites, told me he was proud of how he was studying in community college, harder than he thought. I meant it when I said I was proud of him. A year after the wedding, I woke up in our house with Ryan, and realized I was satisfied with our life. Not perfect, not problem-free. Lucas was working hard to repair our connection. Nana, Aunt Hannah, and Jack often joined us for supper. My biggest lesson is, peace is so much more vital than any harmful relationship, no matter who it's with. Mom never returned my email, and Mr. Harrison never apologized. But I'm happy with it because I've made a good life without them. What would you have done in my place when your family crashed your wedding? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own peace? Let me know in the comments below. I truly want to hear your thoughts.